Oh, no, I had just asked if you were the moderator and then I was waiting.
Oh, you're very garbled.
Hmm.
Like delayed, kind of like a robot.
Huh.
I can hear her just fine. So that's really strange. Can you hear me as like a robot or okay?
No, you're like a robot too, Beata. Maybe it's
So
a
then
bad
it's you.
connection.
It's
Yep.
something with yours.
Jody, it might be you. Tell me this: if you log off, since Janine and I are listed as co-hosts, will the meeting continue? Because Sharon and Beata both here sound fine on my side as well. So I'm wondering if it's the internet in the office again, possibly.
Heather, I'm going to make you host real quick because I don't want to jeopardize anything, and I'm
Okay.
going to get off.
Okay, and I'm just going to sit here and wait.
Okay.
Although Sharon, if you would like, while Jody logs off and rejoins, Janine, the moderator, could you please let the public know what they need to do for the public comment?
Oh, Janine's here. I missed her. Hi, Janine.
Hi, we are now open for public comment. To make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom right corner of your screen, and in the Ask field on the lower right of your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" and click Send.
Okay, Janine, I don't think there's anybody, you don't see anybody, correct? If that's the case, we can just go ahead and close public comment.
No, public comment is now closed.
Okay, thank you. Sorry if you hear that. I guess there's people in the hallway. Sorry if it's noisy, everybody. Just as we move forward, moving on to agenda item 5, Heather, am I understanding correctly? We're looking over this kind of hopefully last, if not pretty close to last iteration of the sunset review, to make comments, to make motions to accept or recommendations for the rest of the items moving forward, correct?
Yes. I'm sorry, I might have missed this, but after Richard moved and Beata did the second and there was no public comment, did we have a roll call vote yet on agenda item 4, the meeting minutes?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay,
And
my apologies. Thank you.
No, there was a roll call, and it was there was the motion from Richard, the second from Beata, and then we took a roll call, and they were all yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. My apologies.
No,
all right.
No worries.
So yes, so the intention is that hopefully, with the exception of item 12, which will require committee input, ignoring formatting issues that will be done once all of these different documents are merged together. Yes, we're hoping that everyone will give us those edits that are either necessary in order to seek the committee's approval, because ultimately we want to take this document, merge all the documents with the edits provided today into one final document in color for the board to view at the December 1st meeting. And hopefully there are few to zero edits at that meeting so that we can get this sent off to print.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the agenda item 5, which we're moving close to now, is complete, and then there was something emailed that goes at the end, right? Section 5 enforcement.
Unfortunately, because the agenda item, it's only one agenda item, which is item 5, which is the full report. But given the size of the documents, it was broken down into differing items. So following this cover sheet, for example, we'll start with sections 1 through 3, which were merged into one, and going forward. So yes, item 5 and 11 were sent last minute, and then item 12 will, need the development today.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Okay, everybody, as we're reviewing the draft sunset report for agenda item number 5, and we'll look at section 1. And I'll just ask to see if there's any comments. I think Heather, well, maybe if we just go by section, that might be helpful. But to see if there's any comments, or are we good, or any discussion regarding the section 1 background and description of the board and regulated profession?
This is Richard. I have one comment.
Yes, Richard, please.
The very first paragraph, which says the occupational therapy profession was established in 1917 and is one of the health professions. Then it ends. There's a chapter 697/00 SB 1046. I think that might be a remnant that needs to be deleted because that appears immediately below it in the next paragraph. But I don't know. I wasn't sure what that was there for.
You are correct, Richard. Yes, thank you. It was not properly cited before, and when we did cite the full one, as you mentioned in the beginning of the next paragraph, that was not deleted. So we will strike that.
Thanks. That was the only thing I saw here. The only edit I had for this section.
For section 1, thank you, Richard.
I have one comment on section 1, same page. This is a question for, starting with the paragraph, occupational therapy licensees provide important health. My question there, just to be uniform with the way it's described in the next paragraph, because I guess that's a short intro. My comment is occupational therapies licensees provide important health. Do we want to add the word habilitation and rehabilitation, since that's how we break down the details in the next paragraph? And it's also consistent with the language in the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act.
Thank you, Denise. Heather, when there's a suggestion, do you need a motion, or is it okay just to chime in?
So I think we will note this as we go along. Adding a comma after health and the word habilitation is something we can capture quickly. Jody and I are both going to, write down, not just in notes, but also on the materials where the changes are. So something that small, yes, that's fine. We've made it. The next one where it mentions habilitation is the actual statute, and that other paragraph is more of a description. But certainly if the committee wants that added, we can add that. And I would just ask that maybe we have a motion at the end of each section.
Got it. Thanks, Denise. So we caught that. We caught Richard's, the strike. We caught Denise's addition of habituation. Any other comments for section 1? If not, is there any motion before we go to public comment?
This is Richard. I move that we accept the language as edited today and recommend the board adoption of this language for section 1.
Thank you, Richard. There was a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Beata. Moderator, can we open it up for public comment?
Okay, we are open for public comment. You would need to click on the Q&A icon at the bottom right corner of your screen, and simply typing in comment in that ask field and clicking send would be good enough for us. You can also raise your hand and we will watch that as well.
No comments, Janine?
Chair Pavlovich, I'm seeing no comments. Would you like me to close the public comment session?
You know,
Session?
could we do this? Could we leave it open only because we're going section by section and just for the sake of time, could we just leave it open so if someone flags a section, we could see it immediately? Is that okay?
Of course I can. Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
We'll leave
welcome.
it for public comment. There's none for section 1. And there was a motion and a second. So Beata, could we take, oh, I'm sorry, was someone trying, Denise, did you want to say something?
No, are we taking a vote?
Yes, we are.
Oh, that's why I'm unmuted, Sharon, just to give you a, thank you
Oh.
for asking.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Beata, could we take the vote?
Of course. Richard Bookwater,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Marcos, yes.
Okay, that so carries. Section 2, performance measures and customer satisfaction surveys. How are we feeling about the information here, everyone?
I mean, I thought it was fine. This is Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it has the thing, they put the target dates. Thank you, board staff, for being able to do that. Target 2:70, 5:40 p.m. It's a really small section. It's a page and a half. So it looks like it's okay. Does anybody want to make a motion for section 3? Unless there's other discussion?
It's interesting how the graphics are a little bit different in the WebEx than they are in the printed copy, the PDF copy. Like they look like triangles
Hmm,
in the WebEx. Do they look like triangles to you? Anyway,
they do.
but they look fine in the document that's posted on the website.
Yeah, and then you can see the color that corresponds because the black and white doesn't give it do that service so much in terms of highlighting like which one's complete. There's just a grayscale.
So the vote would be on section 2.
Correct, Denise.
I make a motion that we accept the changes for section 2.
Okay, there was a motion by Denise. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Then Beata made a second. Is there any public comment? And I know it's already open. I don't know, Jody, do you see anything for section 2? Or Janine, I'm so sorry.
Hi there, Chair Pavlovich. This is Jody. Yes, I'm handling public comment with Janine. It is open, bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you just type in the word comment or raise your hand, we'll go ahead and get right to you if you have anything for section 2.
While we're waiting for that, Sharon, would it be okay if I ask a question? I'll certainly stop if the public puts a comment.
Of course, Denise.
So on performance measure 7, I'm just curious about the comment related to the Survey Monkey. And I understand that the link was removed because it was not renewed. Has there been an update to that? Do we have any way to capture any feedback from our members? And I'm really just looking for a yes or no. I'll table that and bring it to a full board meeting, but I just found that curious.
Yeah, that was curious. Heather, any thoughts on that?
So yes, there are other ways now that the Survey Monkey subscription has been renewed that the link will be added back onto the board's website. It used to be on the main page on the right-hand side in that like long rectangular box that said quick hits about, you know, board meetings, Practice Act, regs, military, etc. So that is being added back there. If you would like, though, I believe this might be addressed under item 11, and I'm sorry I'm going there now, but that certainly we could send out a Survey Monkey to those that we have email addresses for. Again, I mean, unfortunately, the numbers are small. So we could reach out. So it's just kind of hard to comment on whether or not people are more satisfied or if they do have dissatisfaction still, you know, without having actual feedback. Does that answer your question?
Are the numbers any different than they've been in previous years prior to the link being broken? Or is it the same email addresses? The link has just been, or the Survey Monkey's just been reinstated?
So, well, that's two different things. One is the reinstatement of the Survey Monkey link on the board's website, which is separate from the number of licensees who provide their email address to the board to get information from us, whether it's pending regs or upcoming board or committee meeting. People, when they sign up, when they have to physically provide their email address and they have to indicate what they want information about. And that's the information. We don't have very many email addresses for that group of people.
Maybe if I ask the question this way so that I can get on the same page as you. Numbers, so performance measure 7, how do you get the customer satisfaction performance measure from, how did you get it from previous groups prior to the link being broken?
There used to be the link on the website, and anyone who made a comment, then they who completed the survey and or made a comment, then the Survey Monkey captured that information. But
Perfect. Now I understand your point about it. So the
wording is not
being reinstated, is it reinstated on the board's website would be my first question.
I don't know. I can look right now.
I can look too. I
don't know. That's not something we can add. Any of the website updates, staff initiates them, they prepares the information, and then we wait for DCA to, add it. I am not sure if that has been added as of right now. If not, it's been requested. It does not meet the threshold for a quick turnaround. So for those items that are not a board meeting or board meeting regs, something else with a timeliness issue, then sometimes those can take up to 10 days.
I get it. And if I may, just one last question then, Heather, I get that. What I'm trying to understand then is that when the legislators read this, who are on that committee, will they be left with the perception that we don't have a way to capture the customer satisfaction? Or does it behoove us? Because I'll pull my motion back if it we're so moved. I guess what I'm trying to understand is how will they know that, the statement there that was not renewed is actually not accurate because it's now renewed, right? Is that correct?
And
does it matter? Is really the follow-up.
No. So, just one second, please. Janine, if you could go to page 17, please. Because Denise, I understand what you're getting at, and I think based on your comments that the can you scroll down just a bit? I think that what I am hearing you saying is that this information in question number 7 is accurate as of now, but since the report will be submitted in December and reviewed in the hearings like in March, so maybe we should add the information about the fact that the Survey Monkey subscription has been renewed, is being added to the board's website to collect the information. So that's one potential response. And then the other one is maybe to supplement that, since we don't have information to report, that maybe we send it out to those few licensees that we have their email addresses for. Does that kind of address what you're saying about in terms of the timing of the response now and the review?
It does. Thank you for both of those suggestions. So what do other people think? And if so, then I need to amend my motion or pull it back, whatever you prefer.
Denise, I think you raise a good point about that showing activity, showing an effort to obtain customer satisfaction information in the future, going a little bit beyond just the response here is a good idea.
This is Heather. So if I may, what if that one sentence due to, and obviously there's a word missing there, but due to the subscription information being moved up to after the March 19, 2020 period, move that up. And then a new response saying the board has renewed its SurveyMonkey subscription, added the information to the board's website, and to supplement this, we'll be sending it out to those licensees that the board has an email address for in order to be responsive to the legislature's questions. Or something similar to that. I'm sorry, it's kind of long-winded, but.
So moved.
Yeah, I'm going to amend Denise's motion to include that language in item 7 of section 2.
Do you need me to rescind my motion, or do you need me to amend it?
I just did an amending motion. I think if we do an amending motion.
Yeah, I think we can amend because we haven't voted on it yet.
Oh, fantastic. So I don't have to be the amender. Great.
Somebody has to second what I just said, though.
I second.
All right, so we have an amendment based on the discussion. Richard posited the motion, Denise second. I didn't see any public comment, Jody and Janine, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Nope.
thank you. With that, Beata, can we take the roll?
Of course. Richard Buckwater,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Marcos, aye.
Aye, okay, motion carries. Thank you guys. Great discussion and great catch for section 2.
Chair Pavlovich, this is Jody.
Hi,
I just wanted to let Heather know that I don't have that the exact wording that she kind of played out for you guys written down. I don't. I hope that she does.
Heather, do you have the wording? I don't want to speak for Heather,
Yes.
but yes, you do. Okay.
Sorry, it just takes a minute. I'm on a laptop. So yes, I do have that, Jody. Thank you for checking.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jody, for letting us know. Okay, section 3, fiscal and staff. Any discussion on this section?
I move to recommend the section 3 language to the board for acceptance of the report.
Thank you, Richard. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Beata. Public, I'll give you the public comment section's open, so it's running. Anybody, Jody, sign up to speak for agenda item number 3?
Okay, the Q&A is still open, and you're welcome to go ahead and type in the word comment or raise your hand, and we will go ahead and call on you in the order received for section 3. Chair Pavlovich, I don't have anything as of yet. I mean, I'll let you know if anything pops up, but we could probably continue on to the vote.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you, Jody.
You're
All
welcome.
right, so we have a vote. Beata, do you mind taking the roll call for section number 3?
Of course. Richard Buckwater,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Marcos, yes.
Yes, agenda item, I'm sorry, section number 3 carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, section number 4, licensing program. Any discussion, any motions regarding section number 4?
I'm just, this is Richard. On item 18, there's the licensing has a little footnote on there. And I'm trying to, is it an end note? Is it the end of the whole section?
Oh, right after the word licensing with no footnote? Is that what you mean, Richard?
There's a little one.
Heather, is a one, is there supposed to be a footnote there?
One moment, please.
Okay.
Okay, so what we should have done is omitted that because it was a general or generic footnote that simply says the term license in this document includes a license, certificate, or registration. So what we will do is remove that. That's why we removed the footnote. We just missed that one. So we will correct that. Remember the questionnaire goes to a variety of boards and bureaus that use different terminology, although license is defined in law. So again, this board only has licenses. Certificates and registrations didn't really, pertain, and we deleted the footnote. We just did not delete the number 1 from item 18, and we will do so. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Richard and Heather. Any other discussion on section number 4?
I can make a motion if everyone is ready.
Yeah, please.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
On item 21, could we look at that just a second? Sorry. Item
One moment.
Yeah, so it says in paragraph 3, each applicant is required to disclose any past misdemeanor or felony convictions, regardless of the age of the conviction or whether the matter has been expunged. And I'm just thinking of what that bill 2138. This is a past. It's that because they're no longer required.
I'm sorry, Richard. This is Heather. One more moment. Where is that at again?
It's the last paragraph in the section A of 21. So page, so paragraph 1, 2, 3, third paragraph.
Okay, so you are correct. That first sentence should be removed.
Thanks.
So I think we mentioned that in section 5 in the enforcement data. And then this part got missed. The parenthetical comment, though, still is correct and pertains to the fact that the convictions are not required to be disclosed, except the fingerprinting is still required, and that's how we identify that.
Okay. So I have no other comments besides that one on this section.
Okay. I know Beata was ready to take a motion. If there's no other discussion, Beata, by all means.
I make a motion that we accept section 4 with a minor change of removing the footnote. And also at number 21, A, we remove in the third paragraph, we remove the first sentence of that third paragraph.
Thank you, Beata. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Richard is the second. I don't see anybody, but I want to make sure with Jody and Janine, if they didn't see anybody either, requesting public comment?
Jody, I don't see anybody.
Okay. Feel free to chime in. It's open all the time. If there's any comment for section 3. And if not, Beata, can we take the vote?
Of course. Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Beata. Okay, section 5 we got via, it was provided. And section 5 is, let's see, the enforcement program, right? 15 pages. Any discussion on section agenda item number 5?
Could we get a report from Heather specifically about what the changes were that had it come over?
Sure, Heather and Denise, do you mean in a specific part or just for the enforcement in general or?
Well, I have to toggle back and forth. My printer halfway through printing all of this early today went out, and so I have to toggle back and forth, and it would just be helpful if she could just give some captions. And if there are none, just identify that.
Okay, Heather?
Okay, just one moment, please.
Sure.
Give me a second here. So I am pulling up the minutes because in this item, there were several things that needed
what I
to
thought.
be updated. So just one moment, please.
Thank you, Heather.
And that you mean by minutes, you mean the October 14 minutes, correct? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Page 4. Yeah.
So would you like me to, paralleling the last meeting minutes, go through the items that were changed or brought back? Like, how would you like to approach this?
No, actually, I can read this if you, and I don't know about the rest of the board, but if you could just scroll up through each of these items so that I could see it on screen, the changes, that would be great. So starting with question 34.
So here in question 34, the cycle times for each of the performance measures reported to the Department of Consumer Affairs identifies the target time as well as where the board's process times are. And that's in question 34 on pages 1 and 2 of section 5.
Right. Which I can't, yeah, I have to see it up here. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, then question 35, that response was originally incomplete as well.
Next page, Janine. So here we have added.
Can I just on 34? There's just a formatting thing about on the probation intake target times 10 days. There's italics. There's some italicized sort of subheadings here, and I'm just wondering if the probation intake target time is 10 days should be one of those in the second to last paragraph.
Actually, that'd be both of the last two paragraphs, the probation intake target time, as well as the last paragraph, probation violations target time. Both of those should be italicized.
Okay, so you can, thanks.
Okay, where were we at? Were we going, Denise, did you get the information that you needed or?
Sharon, unfortunately, I was not, I attempted, let me see how many items I was able to print. I was able to print 6 pages of this document that was emailed to us before the ink completely went out.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how to vote. I'm happy to take any requests about how to do this faster, but I don't know how else to do this.
Do you need a couple minutes so that we could see the PDF version just ourselves and then take a little break just to see it? Would that help?
Would that be easier? We can do that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
This is Heather. What also, we might be able to go back and using the minutes as a guideline, identify those ones that needed to be modified.
That would be great, Heather.
But I mean, would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought we were doing, just the 10 that are left. I didn't think we were going through each one. I thought we were going through the ones that were in the minutes.
Perfect.
Well, the minutes identified every question in section 5, except identified some accepted as presented versus other ones that needed to be brought back.
Yeah, I don't need to go over the response except as presented.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, do you want us to go to identify the ones that say need to be brought back?
Yes.
Okay. So that was 34, 35, and 36 all needed to be brought back.
Right.
So we went through 34 and 35. And so could we go to 36, please, Janine? I'm not sure if it's on this page or the next. You'll have to. Okay, hang on. Can you go back 2 pages, please? Can you go back a couple pages? Prior to that one too, please. So what had happened was there were previously tables 9A and 9B, and they have now been replaced by, if you can go back one more page, please, a very long multi-page table 9A.
Got it.
The data that was previously missing, and it starts after question 35, asking a bit about trends, and then talks about processing times, and then the enforcement statistics document begins next. Did folks have a chance to go through those responses? I apologize for the very short time frame on that. We ran into some issues with that, and so I apologize for the lateness in that. One of the things you might notice, though, is that section 5, where the tables are listed, they do go from page 2 down through part of page 6 in terms of filling in the blanks. Most of the data is the same. However, there is some additional new data. So I don't know if folks would like to see that. Like, what would be the best? What would you like to see?
So I'll tell you what, to make this easier for everyone, and just to give a point of context, I am on jury summons this week. I obviously have a week full of all my civic duty for the state, which is just fine. But, or I could have reviewed this myself. If you give me just a moment, I'm going to pull up the remainder, and all you have to do is scroll up, and I'll be able to, you just have to scroll up very quickly, and I'll be able to do the comparison on my own and not take up any more of the board or the public's time. Is that doable?
Yeah, just let us know, Denise, when you have it
Okay.
open.
I just need a minute to go and pull, just one moment to pull up the details of our October 14th minute, and I'll be right back. And then if Janine can just, as we go, as we identify the different questions, can just go to those parts of the report, that'd be great. I'll be able to tell what's changed. Okay?
Okay, we'll take a
Thank
couple
you.
minutes. Yeah, no worries.
Thanks. Okay, thank you for that. Janine, if you could. If you could go to question 36, which I think means you have to move it up, that'd be great. So on 36, this response back at October 14th, we didn't have one. This is the response, is what I'm gathering. Okay, 37, wait a second. Nope, don't need 37. Down to 38. And if you can keep scrolling up. Just stay right there. Okay, thank you. Question 39. So if you could go back, Janine, to 39, the minutes identified that board staff was to bring the response back in its entirety with graphs. And is that what the bottom is? Data for the number of okay, got it. Thank you. And now if you could go to 41, Janine. I think that last word online, you don't need the hyphen in between that. That's one word. And the only other comment I have is that a function of Breeze? That's actually a question. Is the online verifying status a function of Breeze?
This is Heather. I'm sorry.
Last final sentence. Take out the hyphen between online, and then the question is that last statement referring to Breeze?
Well, there's actually two different things, right? There is Breeze, which licensees can log into and board staff log into, except that Breeze exports into the search.dca.ca.gov website. So the data comes by Breeze, but it doesn't actually mean they are verifying licenses in Breeze.
Okay, so the what I'm really asking is the verifying status of the licenses, is that one process, two process, three, or is it just one that's an internal thing with staff? Hi, is Heather?
I'm sorry, I didn't select unmute.
That's
The
okay.
verify a license is on the search.dca.ca.gov website.
Okay, and that's the one and only way that you verify. I'm asking from the context of consumer safety and accessing. So the verifying is not through, you certainly can do it through Breeze, but the function that you're describing here is a very tight.
The public can't verify a license in Breeze
it.
because Breeze is available to licensees and to the board. except that the Breeze information exports into a website for the public to go to. Would you like to have us add the website name there? We could say with the capability of verifying the status of licenses online at search.d and identify the website. If it's a licensee, they can either go to the search.dca website or they could go into their Breeze account. A member of the public, a consumer, an employer, they can't go through Breeze. They would need to go to the search.dca website.
Okay, so which is more accurate? I don't want to split hairs. I just want to understand which is more accurate for this section online. I can certainly, I like your suggestion, but if it's unnecessary, just say that.
It would be more clear to the reader if we said verify the status of licenses online at and list the website at search.dca.
If possible, then I would like to suggest we add that because I do think that makes it more clear.
Okay, staff have captured that.
And, okay, then, 42, I don't need to see that. I'm sure my colleagues caught that, and can see if it says that. I don't need to take up our time. Moving down, question 44, label the table as, I don't need to see that. 45, remove the row that includes, that's just format I don't need. So could you go down to question 49, please? I'm sure all my colleagues caught those other ones and they say what they're supposed to do according to the minutes, so. Okay, make the same changes for question 48 and bring it back for me. Oh, it's just a format thing. Okay, thank you so much, President Pavlovich, for allowing that, and thank you, Janine. Thank you, I'm good, I see it.
Got it, Denise? Okay,
Yep,
we've got it,
thank
covered
you.
it. Okay, thank you, Denise. That was still part of our discussion. We didn't have a motion, correct, on, I'm sorry, on section 5. There was no motion, correct?
No.
Okay, okay, so, is there any motion for section 5? I think Heather caught the suggestions in real time, so, I think we're okay with that. Does anybody want to make a motion or a further discussion?
So we don't have to specify any of the changes since Heather has it, so we just need to accept it with minor changes, or?
I'm thinking that's correct, right, Heather? Or do you want a
Yes,
motion?
I agree.
Okay.
If there were substantive changes that were lengthy additions or deletions, but I believe, Jody, can you please chime in? I've captured what I believe. Have you done the same? I mean, they were,
Yeah,
mean-
I have Richard's changes on 34 and then Denise's changes on 41 that were all minor edits, and, grammatical because for online. Yeah, I have those.
And then just the one to add the website.
To
Yep.
41 as well, yes.
Okay, perfect. So then I'll make a motion that we accept section 6 with minor edits.
Or
pardon me,
section 5, yeah?
I apologize. I move that we accept section 5 with
Okay.
minor edits.
There's a motion by Beata. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a second by Richard. I don't see any public comment. Is that right, Jody and Janine?
I do not see any public comment, but I do want to let the public know that we have the public comment section open, and you're welcome, and we're watching. So if you have anything at any time, just type it in and we'll let the chair know. Right now we're good though, Sharon, we have nothing there waiting.
Okay, so we have the motion, we have the second. Beata, knowing that, can we take the roll?
Of course, Richard Bookwalter,
Yes.
Denise Miller,
Yes,
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes, motion so carries. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for everybody for the discussion and clarification for section number 5.
Can I,
Um,
before we start the next section, could I ask a quick question?
Please, of course.
Did Heather and Jody, did you guys send a FedEx package to the committee members? I'm just getting a call from FedEx that they can't deliver something, and I'm wondering if it's from the board.
There was a package sent, I believe it was, I know that Janine and Jeff sent something out, but that was the very first sections, everything that you didn't get by email, I would believe. Richard, did you get anything at all ever from FedEx this week?
No, so that's
Okay, it's probably that.
And you got the address correct, but for some reason they couldn't find my house, and so they're calling me right now. It's a little late. But
Okay.
I pulled it up on the website. Okay, thanks. I was wondering
Oh,
that's probably.
my apologies. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to confirm it wasn't a scam.
No, it wasn't a scam. We did send you one.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Hopefully that clarified. Okay, and moving on, let me know, I think maybe let me know when we need a break, guys. Just, hand or somebody comment, when we're ready for a break. I'm trying to be mindful of everyone's time. Section number 6, public information policies. Any discussion, recommendations for this section?
I'm ready to make a motion if there are no discussions, because I think
Yeah.
it's all correct.
Yeah, Beata?
I move that we accept section 6, public information policies.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
This is Richard. I second.
There's a second by Richard. I'll pause just like 30 seconds to see if there's any public comment, but please know that the public comment section is staying open in case you'd like to add. Please know that that's constantly open as we're trying just to be mindful of everyone's time. So if I don't see anybody there. Jody and Janine, is that correct? I don't see anybody yet for section 6?
That is correct, Chair Pavlovich. I don't have any public comments.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Beata, seeing
You're
that, thank you. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Beata, can we take the roll for section, the item, sorry, that's on the motion on the floor for the approval of section 6?
Yes, of course. Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes,
and Beata Mokos, aye.
motion so carries. Thank you so much. Heather, just asking a clarifying question. We jumped from section 6 to section 11. We didn't have to revisit the ones in between, right? Because from here we go 11, 12, 13, or am I missing something?
One moment, please.
Okay.
My apologies. I was checking on the folder and I have inadvertently moved it, so I'm actually searching for it right now. Could we please take a short break to give me a moment, because I would like to respond.
Of
I
course.
did believe that sections 7 through 10 were included in the meeting materials, but perhaps
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
mistaken.
sure, let's take 10 and just, mine jumps, it starts at 6 and then it says item will be provided. And then it jumps to section 13. And then my online materials that we got via email is for 5, 11, and 12.
Right, but I thought section 7 through 10 was in one document, which is very short, maybe 4 pages. And I thought that was included.
Oh, you know what? Wait a minute, it's separated here in another section. I'm sorry, Heather, you are correct. They're right here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm like looking, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry because I accidentally moved that folder. So I was trying to verify what you said and I accidentally moved a folder on the G drive. I'm toggling between 4 different things.
Yep, it just,
So,
my,
my
these two were stuck
apologies.
together, so it went just straight, so I see that now. I apologize. Okay,
Thank you.
yes, I'm so sorry, causing us more stress. That's the last thing we need. There must be a full moon. Okay,
Tears are nothing new in my world lately. So
I was like, oh my
thank you.
gosh.
I'm glad. Thank you for I'm glad to find that. Thank you.
Whew, I think
Yeah.
there is a new moon, full
I
moon.
think, I think you're right. Um, let's see if we can,
A minute?
yeah, let's see if we can go through, I don't know, maybe 7, and then we'll take a little break. Is that okay with everyone?
Sounds
Fine
good.
by me.
Okay, how about section number 7, online practice issues? Any discussion for this section?
And just to clarify, section 7 is 1 page only. So
Front and
I
back.
realize,
Oh, yeah. No front
so
only. That's right.
yeah, so I'm sorry, it's probably why it's easy. Okay, sounds clear.
Thanks, Heather.
I have a question about the first line. The board, in the response to 58, the board is not aware of the prevalence that online services are being provided. I was just wondering, maybe, is the intent of that line to say the board does not have a way of measuring the prevalence of online services being provided?
This is Heather, and
It just sounds like we're a little oblivious. The board is not aware of the prevalence that online services are being provided. Does that mean that we're
I
not?
think we use the word online because they're not even using the word telehealth, number one.
Yeah,
And number two, it's true that we don't know how, like, how do I want to say pervasive, but how common services are provided via telehealth, via in person. The board doesn't know that. So
the board is.
certainly if you have a suggestion for better, wording, then, by all means,
Well, I'm just.
we're happy to modify it.
I mean, the board is aware that telehealth is being provided. So it just sounds a little confusing to say the board is not aware of the prevalence that online services are being provided. It almost sounds like the board's a little oblivious to online services, which I don't think is the message that we're trying to send with this report.
Okay. So would it be something such as the board is unaware of the extent that services are provided via telehealth?
That would be better, yeah.
Or if, Richard, I agree with your point, and I wonder also, there's recent legislation, like just yesterday federally, that's been passed on our ability to provide telehealth. So just in the interest of being timely, what I wonder is if it's more accurate to say, recent legislation, federal legislation has increased telehealth services. The board is in the process of capturing, and guess what I'm trying to get at is because it's new and it's timely, does that allow us, because it's not that we're not aware, it's just that from a timing standpoint, it's increasing now in live time while they're going to receive this report. And is there a way to say a statement like that or to factor in COVID or something like that? Would just.
This is Heather. So I understand that, and I think we can certainly waive in the recent legislation. However, that doesn't mean that the board is aware of the extent of practice areas or the extent that services are provided via telehealth rather than in person. I think the emphasis there is like, does the board know about this? Like, yes, we know services are provided via telehealth, but we could not provide data identifying the percentage by practice area, for example, of when services are provided via telehealth versus in person. So perhaps there's a way to weave in what you're suggesting about the recent legislation.
Although
still-
there's been recent legislation due to COVID or whatever, that, provides for telehealth services, or the board is not aware of the prevalence. Is that more accurate?
I mean, that's pretty close. Yeah. I mean, so what's the significance of the federal legislation? And I only ask because telehealth is currently allowed. So what does the new federal legislation, like, what's the impact? Is it a reimbursement impact? Is it an expansion of areas that services can be provided? Because the state of California already provides that services can be provided via telehealth. So I'm like, I'm not a licensee. And so it seems sort of nuanced to me. So perhaps that could be, be a little bit more specific so that
Okay.
like someone like me, could understand.
So a couple quick things. The Senate introduced its version of the Expanded Telehealth Access Act, which would permanently add OT, PT, speech, and audiology as telehealth providers under Medicare. The real word there is permanent. That's the big success. And there's they finalized the rules to allow us to permanently open home health cases too, which is kind of exciting. We've only been fighting for it for years, but so specifically, is there a way to say without naming, although COVID has resulted in legislation that would make telehealth services permanent, the board is not aware of the prevalence that online services are being provided? Is that?
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I have an idea. My thought is that could be added. That would be a good addition to mention, because we can certainly anticipate an increase in online services being provided as a result of the federal legislation. But I was just thinking, the board is not aware of a measure of the prevalence of online services being provided. Because I think that's what you're trying to say there.
That is correct. From a practice standpoint, the board doesn't know about that. If
It's not like we're not
20% or whether there's 90%, the board staff, we don't know that because we do not, ask for licensees to identify the way they deliver services.
So I would just, I'd be content with it saying the board is not aware of a measure of the prevalence of online services being provided. And then after that, at this time, we've not received a complaint or report of unlicensed practice pertaining to online services. The board anticipates an increase. We could say the board, an increase in online services as a result of the legislation that Denise is talking about. Or does that make sense, Denise?
That could certainly work. Can you just, and when you use the word measure, can you describe, the board is not aware of the measure of prevalence?
Well, so prevalence is a measure, how much is it, how much is it happening? But we don't have a way of getting at that information. So they want us to provide information on the prevalence, but we don't have information on the prevalence because we don't have a way to measure it currently. Because so if they're asking us for a measure, we can't give them an amount.
Okay, so to your point, what you just said there, Richard, it seems more clear to me to say the board is not aware of the prevalence that online services are being provided because it has not been measured. And then at this point in time, the board has not received a complaint, blah, blah, blah. And I like what you did. The board anticipates that due to recent changes in federal legislation, there will be an increase in online services or something. Unless, of course, we don't want to include something that's specific to federal. We could just say the board anticipates an increase due to recent legislation or something.
I think that would be fine. That would be good. Yeah, because we are paying attention to the thing. Is what we it's demonstrating that we're going to be watching it, paying attention to it carefully.
This is Heather. So my only suggestion is that we not use just legislation, because that doesn't really specify federal versus state. So perhaps you could like shift it from legislation to, expanding, reimbursement for services provided via telehealth or something like that. Unless you go back, and if you want to use the word legislation, then you specifically mention, federal legislation, permanently expanding telehealth and reimbursement or something like that.
I would be okay being a little more general and talking about federal reimbursement changes at the federal level, or maybe federal and state levels too, or whatever. Yeah.
Sure. So we could, without even saying legislation, we could just say expanded online service, expanded access to online services. The board anticipates expanded, because that's the wording used right in the legislation. Expanded and permanent access to online services or online.
I like it.
Heather, are those considered non-substantive changes or something you need a motion for?
Well, no, I think, I mean, in the interest of everyone's time, obviously I don't want to belabor this, but there's been about 9 different suggested languages, and perhaps, I'm sorry?
What is it you want? You want just one, you want a motion with the exact language?
I would like a recommendation that we suggest it be edited to say the following, and and say what that is, and then that's what we will add to the report. That would be helpful, because there's been several concepts. I mean, you could leave it up to us, but we're not licensees, and that's one of the things I'm talking about, the nuance about the understanding of what the legislation means, as well as, is it specifically about the access? Is it about the reimbursement? Is it about both? And so rather than us try to guess what would be the best answer, and maybe we could circle back to this, this specific piece, so that somebody could say, we suggest that staff change it to say the following.
Heather,
I mean, that's a recommendation, but it's up to the committee to do.
I'm willing to give it a shot, Richard, unless you want to.
I'm sort of
go ahead.
started typing something, but
And Heather, while they're kind of just sharing that for a second, your last comment about the generalization, can you repeat some iteration of that? I'm sorry, I didn't capture all of it, where something about the ledge and not state and not federal, but it needs to be global enough for, and what was that comment?
Well, I mean, because an earlier part of the discussions were, I think it said something similar to, recent legislation expanded, access to telehealth services, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And so all I'm suggesting is that if the phrase legislation is used, we need to be specific about, like, federal legislation recently expanded the access. But I also said I wasn't clear if that federal language was both an access issue and a reimbursement issue. And that's the part I'm saying, that, like, we would need the licensees to, like, give
Trying to do it.
those specifics. or to not mention the word legislation and just, and point to what the outcome was.
Okay,
You know,
got it.
recent increased activity, recent increased access, recent reimbursement, what have you. That's the part I was trying to say, that as a non-licensee, that, again, for the legislative staff that are going to read this, we need to make it clear that a non-licensee could understand what the changes were.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Richard and Denise, is this something you guys would want to circle back to maybe?
I feel like I can make the motion.
Okay,
I
what?
wondered if Richard feels like,
I'm almost done with typing some draft language. Do you want to get?
yeah, let's just wait for that then. I think he's probably captured it.
Okay. And then while we're waiting, I'd like to ask staff, because we're coming up on a break, and I know you have a distance, especially if you're not at work. So can you let me know if a break would consist better 10 or 15 minutes? I want to honor anyone's time, but also know that there are some, especially for in the evening, some, environmental issues we have to. Could you let me know if 15 is better than 10?
Hey, Sharon, this is Jody. I think Jeanine and I can get it done in 10.
I feel like we're in Vegas. All right then.
Thanks.
Do you want to break while Richard's capturing? Do you want to come back and do the motion after the break, Sharon?
Yeah. Would that be okay? And then, but my concern is Richard might not get a break if he's writing. Richard, what would you prefer?
Don't wait on me.
I think he's almost done.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a break. Okay, it's 5:18, so 10 minutes. 5:28.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you in about 10.
So I just sent something in chat.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
I don't know if anybody can see it because I think I accidentally sent it privately.
Yeah, you're right. It is on private. Let me see if I can cut and paste.
I think I sent it not private.
I only see it private. I don't know what that means though, Richard.
I think it says she's.
Hi, everybody. It's Sharon. I'm just checking in to see if everybody had enough time. I'm hoping it's okay. Beata, are you here?
I'm here.
Ah, thank you,
So I
Beata.
see Denise is here. I don't know if Richard is here.
I'm here.
Denise, Richard?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let's take the formal vote for the quorum just to make sure we have it for the minutes. Thank you.
Great. Richard Bookwalter.
Here.
Denise Miller.
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich.
Here?
Beata Marcos here.
Here. Okay. Thank you. We have established our quorum upon our return. Board staff, we're good? Okay. Our All right, let me check here. Richard, do you want to, Richard, I only see it in my private chat, but maybe everyone got it. Do you want to share? Richard wrote something in the chat. I only see it's highlighted in blue as private, but maybe everyone else can see it too. Richard, do you want to share a little bit about the writing that you had, what you suggested?
Yeah, I tried putting it in the everyone chat as well, because there's a private chat and there's an everyone chat. My format. But anyway, I wrote, the board is not aware of current. Can you guys see it?
I can see it. I think it's excellent.
Does anybody, if Jody or Heather could copy, I don't know if you could put it in there or not, or show it on the screen for people like Sharon who can't see it.
Oh, I could see it, Richard. I think I'll read it out. Just
I just sent it to there.
okay.
I just copied what Richard did.
If you'd like, I can display it on the screen
That would be,
so that members of the public could see it as well.
That's
Yeah.
great, Heather.
Okay, can somebody send it back to me, please? So, share content.
Yeah, I'm trying to, let me see if I get this here.
Does this help? I don't know. I have all these screens showing stuff. Can
Yes,
you
we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, Sharon, the Word document is showing what Richard had put into the chat.
Correct. Yeah, the board is not aware of current accurate methods of measuring the prevalence of online occupational therapy services. At this point in time, the board has not received a complaint or report of unlicensed practice pertaining to online services. The board anticipates an increase in the provision of occupational therapy services online due to reimbursement and regulatory changes at the state and federal levels intended to increase access. And so, yes, that's what Richard, and just, we might have, by online, we're okay with just saying online, we don't have to refer that this online means telehealth, or do we just leave it online? That's my only,
This is Heather. I would suggest, because the next paragraph talks about telehealth, I think we should say prevalence of online, also known as telehealth, occupational therapy services, or something similar, of online services, also known as occupational therapy services provided via telehealth, or something.
yeah, I agree, because online it just sounds like we're on the computer and not in this rigor environment, because telehealth requires specific requirements to be able to do it. So could we adjust that, Richard, just so after like online, kind of what that suggestion?
yeah, so I'm happy to, if somebody does that, because, but yeah, it's in Word, good.
Heather, do you have access to that where you can just, yeah, there we go. Occupational therapists or services provided via there we go.
Well, Richard, now I know where your power is finally limited. You can't write on something that's already on screen.
That's right. My powers are very limited.
Just in that one task.
Another
Oh,
big limited
great.
is the microphone. Just kidding.
The prevalence of online occupational therapy services provided via telehealth. Accurate methods of measuring the prevalence of online occupational therapy services. Heather, instead of or, could we put otherwise known as, or otherwise known as something as, yeah, otherwise, because it still sounds like an option, like there's online and then there's telehealth. I want them to understand that it's one thing.
Otherwise known as?
Or something, or,
Well, the
'cause
next
it's not-
paragraph it's repetitive with the next paragraph, because the next paragraph says the board currently regulates occupational therapies provided online, or OT services provided online or via telecommunication, referred to as telehealth, under the authority provided in BPC section blah blah blah. So I don't know. Do we
okay.
borrow from that and just move it up, or
Is,
Just one sec. If you could wait just a moment, this is Heather. I do want to take this new version and compare it to the paragraph number 2, because we might be able to use the introduction of use of term telehealth here in the introductory first paragraph and then remove it in the second one.
Okay.
That would be fantastic.
Quick clarification right here. Is it pertaining to telehealth services, or is it pertaining to services provided via telehealth?
That
And-
is,
I think your second iteration, the second half sounds better to me, Heather, but
I agree. Services via telehealth, right?
services provided via telehealth.
Mhm.
Whoops. Let's see. Services provided.
Yeah, I like it.
So,
I think that
my only other suggestion would be if, depending on if folks are okay with what's shown on the screen, is in the second paragraph of question 58 in section 7,
Mhm.
is just eliminate the part about online or via telecommunication and just say in the paragraph number 2, the board currently regulates occupational therapy services provided via telehealth under the authority of.
I like it. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
And then take out that, and we'll take out the quotes and the comma, and just in the first sentence, the board currently regulates occupational therapy services provided via telehealth under the authority provided under ...
Yeah.
I
Be
just think it
separate
could.
to this-
I just
this
think it conveys the notion that we're on top of it.
Yep.
But, yeah, a little bit better.
Do you, Richard, did you want to make a motion? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm you're welcome to make a motion to this.
I make a motion that we adopt section 7 as stated here in what we're seeing related to online and via telehealth services. Services via telehealth.
And the staff suggested amendments to paragraph 2.
And staff suggested amendments to paragraph 2.
I second.
There's a motion by Denise, a second by Richard. I don't see anything in the public comment, but just as a reminder, public, and Jody can tell you, the chat is always open. We've spent some time on this. I'll wait like 30 seconds to see if anybody's interested. But Jody, could you just remind them that the chat's open?
Of course. Public comment is open. If you would like to make a public comment on section 7 and what we've been speaking of, you can go ahead and just type the word comment in the Q&A section and hit send, and we'll go ahead and take your comments in the order received.
Thank you, Jody.
It will be open the whole meeting in case at any time I'll watch it. So
Okay. I'll just give you guys like 30 seconds and then we'll take a vote. But feel free at any time to chime in. We can always revisit. Okay, there are no public comments. We have a motion and a second. Beata, can we take the vote for the motion before us for section 7?
Of course. Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes, thank you for everybody's work on that. Appreciate it. The motion so carries for approval of the motion for section 7. Okay, let's look at section number 8, workforce development and job creation. Any suggestions, edits, motions regarding section 8?
I have a question. What's up with 62 and 63?
You don't see it, Richard? No, I'm just kidding. There's yeah, it's, is it are we missing item 63 or is it just a numeration issue?
Heather, if you're trying to talk, I think you're on mute.
You're right. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I am trying to figure things out. So, one moment, please.
Okay, just let us know, Heather. We'll stand by.
Okay, so the extra return after in 62 where it says the board believes exists, that hits a return, it populated 63, which made the following question, provide workforce development data, the erroneously number 64. So it's only a formatting issue. And once we backspace over that, it will populate 63 in front of provide any workforce development data.
Okay, so just formatting with numeration.
Formatting.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Any other questions or discussions?
I am satisfied.
You sound like King Richard. I love it. Any motions?
I make a motion that we accept section 7 with the non-substantive changes as provided. And
Section 8, Denise?
Section 8.
is it weren't we just discussing section 7? My apologies. Did we already?
Yeah, we voted. It was good. That was the one we spent the most time on. With this one, section 8.
Okay, mine must be. Can I see the top of it? Okay. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Section 8. Someone else can make the motion. I'll go to move.
Was that a withdrawal?
I don't think she finished the motion. Oh, well, she did, but that's right. Denise, do you want to withdraw the motion?
But I made it in relation to, yes, I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody that wants to make a new motion regarding section 8?
Make a motion. I move that we accept section 8, workforce development and job creations, with the minor changes that are going to happen in the numbering system below.
Thank you, Beata. That was a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Richard. I don't see any public comment, but I'm sure Jody and Janine will let me know if there is one. Please feel free to reach out anytime. It's open. Beata,
Yes,
can we take a vote?
of course. Richard Bookwalter.
Aye.
Denise Miller.
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich.
Yes.
And Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes. Okay, motion carries for section 8 approval. And the motion that was on the floor. Jody and Janine just checking in. I don't see any chats. Is that confirmed?
Yes, I confirm there are no public comments waiting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss someone's comment? No? Okay. Section number 9, current issues. It's one page. Any discussion regarding this, recommendations or motions?
I move to recommend acceptance of this language by the board for section 9.
There's a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Beata. And seeing no public comments, Beata, will you call the vote for section 9?
Of course, Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Marcos, yes.
Motion so carries. Thank you. Heather, am I okay? It was work. Let me know if I need to slow down.
We're doing good. Thank
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Section 10, board actions and responses to COVID. Any discussion here? Recommendations or motions?
This is Heather. In question 69, because question 70 talked about the governor's executive orders, we didn't really talk about the actual existing state of emergency statutes under question 69. And when in speaking to DCA about the 2 executive orders that were issued regarding the board's ability to hold the meetings via WebEx and not having to identify the location of the board members teleconferencing, there were 2 different executive orders for that before the statute was changed. And so without having specific language, I would just ask that the committee accept the staff recommendation that in response to COVID-19, we reference Executive Order N2920 issued in March 17 of 2020 and N08-21 issued in June 11th, which allowed the board to hold meetings via teleconference without identifying the location of the board members or something similar to that effect, whatever is like factually correct, and add that language. We said no because we didn't rely on the statutes, because under question 70, every one of these references an executive order and we don't really tie back to the statute. So it was just a difference of interpretation. So with the committee's acceptance of the staff recommendation, we would like to update the response to question 69.
And Heather, does that require like just a yes, or does that require a motion?
Well, you probably should have discussion about that suggestion.
Okay.
And, depending on if the committee accepts it, then that can be included at the end in whatever motion there is about the section.
Okay. And the numbers, and they're not the ones that are below in 70.
No, they are not. No.
Okay.
I did go back and look those up because they're listed on prior meeting agendas.
Okay.
And the executive orders are N 29-20 issued in March 17 of 2020 and N08-21 issued June 11th of 2021. And that's because of those executive orders, the board and committees were able to hold meetings via WebEx without identifying the physical address location as was previously required when somebody joined a meeting via teleconference. That's a Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act requirement that, or previously it was, that it identifies somebody's, physical location. And you may recall, we talked about that if somebody was at home instead of the office, while it was highly unlikely that somebody would come there, if you are at a publicly noticed location, you do run that risk. Just to kind of like circle back to, a few years ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion?
I think that sounds like a good addition to me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, Heather. That just keeps us updated, which I think is important to put that in. Denise and Beata, any discussion?
No, I'm good with this.
Denise, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Yep. Heather, would you like a formal motion?
Yes, please. And at this point is fine if no one has any other edits to the remainder of another, page and a half of section 10. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we could just, if nobody else, is there any other comments regarding section 10? Otherwise, we could just lump it all into one motion.
Would you like a motion on section 10?
Please, Denise, if so moved.
Do you want the actual section specifically identified, or changes as discussed, previously discussed, and then give board staff?
Let's identify the section and then all of item 10, if that, or section 10, if that's okay.
Okay. Then I might not be the one to do the exact, then I might not be the one to do the motion. I'll do the second.
And I can never do a motion so far. I mean, not yet. Anyways, looking into that. But anybody else want to give it a go for section 10?
This is Heather. If it would be helpful, I could suggest again the edits, if that would help.
That'd be great.
So staff recommends that the response to question 69 in response to COVID, has the board utilized any existing state of emergency statutes, and that the response be modified to include the fact that the board has relied on Executive Order N29-20 issued by the governor on March 17 of 2020, and Executive Order N08-21 issued on June 11th of 2021.
Can you actually say those two executive orders again slower and with the dates, and that would be just great. Thank you.
Staff recommends
Got all that, okay.
that the executive orders N29-20 issued March 17th of 2020 and executive order N08-21 issued June 11, 2021 be added to question 69. Insofar as the board relied upon that to not identify teleconference locations for board and committee members.
Okay, thank you. I think I have it. Okay. Ready for the motion? Would you like a motion?
Yes, please. Thank you, Denise.
Okay. So I make a motion that we that we modify number 69, I'm sorry, I make a motion that in response to COVID and number 69, that we modify to include language that identifies the executive order in 29-20 for 3/17/2020 and N08-21 6/11/2021 be added. Further, we also further to that teleconference locations for board and staff would not be identified.
There's a motion. Thank you, Denise. Whoa, that was tough. Thank you, Denise. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Beata. I don't see any public comments, but again, that chat's always open if you'd like to comment. Beata, can we take a roll call for that?
Oh, wait, board, so just checking, is that gonna do it, Heather?
Yes, yeah, yes, we got it.
Just to verify. Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Marcos, aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting the Q&A again is open at all times. We're just keeping it open, so if any of the public is popping in, know that you have access to be able to participate and comment at any time. Okay, that is section 10. Section 11 was given to us, and we have a PDF on our email. So it's the board action and responses to prior sunset issues. Any discussion, recommendations, or motion?
This is Richard. Hi, I just had a question about issue number 1, committee staff recommendation. That's the joint B&P committee staff, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Regarding section 11, I wonder in the second paragraph, I wonder if the statements fall as of the last sunset review, which I don't know if we want to put in parentheses, or excuse me, as of the last sunset review, the board charged a lower fee for renewing a license or inactive status. However, when implementing the renewal fee increases in 2017 statutory requirements, is there a word specified the renewal fee? I think that something's missing in there for me between statutory requirements and the word specified. Does anybody else read it differently?
This is Heather. Denise, I agree with you. I would say when implementing the renewal fee increases in 2017, comma, the statute specified the renewal fee for healing arts licenses, and the rest would be the same. So
That sounds great. What about everybody else? Yeah, thank you.
Good. For issue 2,
one moment, please, so we can make sure we capture.
sorry.
Jody, are you good?
Yes, thank you. I'm good.
Okay, me too. Thank you.
Okay.
Richard?
Yeah, for issue 2, number 2, the last time I think that I remember using the administrative committee was when we did the administrative manual with Sharon. We went down to Loma Linda, and you, Sharon, Heather, and I did that. It would be good to give I'm not sure if that was in this last period, but it might be good as an example. If it was in this period, I think it was because.
Richard, I'm sorry, what do you mean by example?
We use the administrative committee, for example, to suggest revisions to the administrative manual.
So, Richard, I hear what you're saying. It's almost like adding a statement that the board provided these, the administrative committee provided these updates or
Yeah, reviewed the administrative
reviewed,
manual,
yeah.
and proposed updates to the board.
And it was after the last sunset. It was like in 2018, I think.
Yeah, because it was Sharon and me, and that was the last sunset. You were president, so yeah. So it might just be nice to. I don't know if the administrative committee has met since then, but I don't think it has. So that would be a good way to show that we're using it.
This is Heather. So just to clarify that the first sentence, when it talks about ongoing administrative issues or to make recommendations to the board, which is more general in nature, you're wanting it to be specific to the administrative manual? I'm just trying, I'm sorry, I'm just seeking clarification.
I mean, I guess that captures it. I don't know. They seem to want that. That was an issue at the 2016 Sunset Report and Update, and I don't know if there are any other examples.
I believe that was the reason for the general wording about the purpose without highlighting what was or was not done or going into specifics about administrative committee assignments.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That's that because there was only one example. All right. So we can leave it as is, as far as I'm concerned. Moving on.
Any other discussion, recommendations, motions?
I'm just wondering about this post-professional. I thought we got rid of post-professional, but it keeps showing up. And I like issue number 5. Isn't that out of the? I mean, we still have it in regulations some places, I think. And this is a relic of the 2016 Sunset Report and Update.
This is Heather. So yes, while you're correct that the statute was amended to remove the reference to post-professional, it still is referenced in regulation. However, without regard to the title post-professional, the post-professional really only does apply or courses taken beyond entry-level educational programs are really required for advanced practice approval. And so while you're correct about the post-professional and the fact that we could make change, suggested edits to that, what hasn't changed is the fact this part about those providers that submit courses to the board for approval still require the board to pay an expert to review the course to determine the content and how it relates to or meets the statutory requirements. That's one issue. The second issue is the fact that many providers who did submit a course, let's say in 2017, and it was a 7-hour, let's say PAMS course, they later break it out into 2 courses, and now they have a 3-hour PAMS course and a 4-hour PAMS course. And then we don't know that the course has changed because the providers neglect to tell the board, even though they're supposed to. The providers neglect to tell the board. So when the licensees take those courses and they turn in the certificate of completion, then the licensees have an extra hurdle of identifying the course content, the syllabus, the content hours, etc., which still needs to be sent out for review. And so that's the second problem, is that because there's no subsequent evaluation or review process of those courses, the board continues to incur expense to have the courses reviewed, one, upon initial approval, or even for those who don't approve, or for those providers who don't request approval, when the licensees submit the courses, it costs the board money to have those courses reviewed to determine the relevance to the advanced practice area. And that, so this, well, yes, while post-professional, and we can certainly remove the reference to post-professional and you know, term it in a way that, you know, education acquired to meet the advanced practice requirements or something similar. But the fact remains, the board, in terms of looking at expenditure reductions, because these providers aren't charged a fee, and because those providers, we have several national providers that advertise their courses as approved by California, approved by Washington, et cetera. There's no cost to those providers, and they are able to get you know, more people going to it because it says approved by the boards. So that's one issue. But the second issue is when the providers change those courses and they don't send it out. If somebody goes to a course in San Diego and then, like, you know, 12 of those 20 people are California licensees who submit advanced practice applications, the board keeps paying for the review of the course because, one, it's not approved, or two, it was previously approved, but the format, the content, the hours, or the instructors have subsequently changed. And so while this might not really articulate everything I just said, that's part of the reason we're like keeping this on and not really addressing the change of the post-professional.
Okay.
I hope
Well,
that
I
shed
have
light.
a suggestion. Reading the answer to issue number 5, the first sentence says the board did not follow up on this matter after the last sunset report, as this revenue source was not needed at the time. And to me, that is a little bit of a different response than what I would expect when reading the question. Should the CBOT approve post-professional education courses? The answer is sure. I mean, to me, the answer is a no, would be a yes, not a we didn't follow up on it as the revenue source was not needed. But I understand it better after your explanation. I would take that and move it. I would start with post-professional education, and I would take out only pertains to the board's 3 areas identified. Like, what is post-professional education? I would go to this directly to the second paragraph. Post-professional education only pertains to the board's 3 areas identified as advanced practice, hand therapy, currently, and then, I mean, I think we should say, is the answer yes or no? There should be a yes or no in there. Like, should we approve them? Sure. And we should charge money for it. But I'm not sure it says that with this wording. So
I agree. And thank you, Richard, for that. I think that first sentence was really in response to the second part where it says the board should complete the fee bill worksheet required by the committees. That's the part because the board didn't want to do that at the time. And that's why we did not pursue a fee increase to establish a fee from providers. And, you know, I mean, frankly, it had in part to do, you know, with the association's position on this issue.
So maybe this matter could be just replaced with fee bill worksheet. Maybe the board did not follow up on the fee bill worksheet.
That's an excellent suggestion.
And then, because that really focuses in, but the larger matter we attended to. And I think that would make it, that's all you would need to change there for me.
We're happy to change that. Jody, did you capture that?
Thank you. Yes, I did capture that, as well as the removal of only in the second paragraph, I believe, Richard?
That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Deal.
Were there any other suggestions to improve the response in that issue?
Not for this particular one, Heather. I'm okay. Were you looking for something specific, or do you have what you need for that issue number 5?
Oh, no. I was just wondering if anyone had any other suggestions regarding issue number 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, and we'll continue on for issue, I'm just waiting to hear back from anybody on any of the remaining issues to see if they want to discuss them, make recommendations, or have questions, please.
Perhaps I can make a motion. I can move that we replace on this matter with on the fee bill worksheet in issue 5 of section 11. And remove only from the next paragraph on issue 5 section.
I'll
Okay, so
second the motion.
there was a motion by Richard, a second by Beata. I don't see any public comment, but you're welcome to please chime in. If not, Beata, could we take the roll? Or I'm sorry, no, that's not even that. That's for just, I'm sorry. Now I'm confused because I thought we were going to do section. Do you need the motion just for section issue number 5, Heather?
No, that's fine. Let's take it for issue number 5, and then you can continue throughout the section. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. So sorry. Okay, Richard, and yours was just for issue 5, or was it for the whole section? I'm so sorry.
It's just 5 because we're making a substantive change.
Okay, so we'll make the motion since it's on there. Beata seconded. Beata, can we take a roll for that a motion, please?
Or Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Marcos, aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, that motion goes for issue number 5. And how about the rest of the document? How are we doing with feedback on that?
I'm just wondering, the issue 11, I think, is the one where we talked about that earlier, the board design episode. We already covered that earlier, I think, issue 11 with the survey response. So if that question comes up, we could refer them back to the earlier part of the report that we already modified. So I'm okay with that as is.
This is Heather. So to clarify, we should expand the response in issue number 11 to match the response to section number 2. Yes?
You think? Would you be okay with that?
No, I mean, I'm asking what the committee would like.
There is some benefit to repeating information that was, in an earlier section that may not be readily available in the only read section.
I'm sorry. Oh, Denise?
I agree with that. I would leave it because you'll see them thumb through. Yeah.
This is Heather. So with the amendments to the response to question number 7 and section Two, one of the things we talked about was in order to be responsive to the legislature's concerns, to send out the SurveyMonkey to licensees, and perhaps we could add that here. What the sentence there is factually correct, but in terms of being responsive, perhaps we could say that. And if they want to follow up with that in the questions that they ask next March or April, then we will be prepared with the response then. How does the committee feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great, that would be helpful, Heather.
All right, I move that the staff reiterate the plans for improving survey results mentioned earlier, and repeat that language in issue 11 section.
In issue 7, right?
No, we're on
Section 2, question 7.
section
That's
7.
right.
Section 2, question 7.
I'm sorry, so there was a motion by Richard.
Wait,
Is there a
Second.
Second was Denise?
Yes.
Okay, Denise. So we have a motion and a second. Can we call the vote?
Richard Walter,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
great. Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Borcos, yes.
Okay. That motion so carries. Any other items or issues on a section number 11?
Does issue 9 reflect the work that has been done by board staff? I thought there were some improvements in how the enforcement data is presented. Do I have that?
This is Heather. You're talking about implementing a Quorum survey?
Issue 9.
So there was, Denise, I'm sorry, what was it again, the question for issue 9? You said there was another, what was it?
Specifically, what I want to understand, Heather, is I know that I thought that there were some recommendations around some of the way in which the enforcement data was presented. Are these the same issues, or is what is listed here factually accurate to how it's done? Is really my question.
On page 4 of issue 9, paragraph talks about the the ability to disaggregate some of the information, but not all of it. So the paragraph at the top is factually correct, other than in the third from the bottom, there's an extra Q in Qbert. But there are limitations of the information we can gather, but there's also some expanded capability. And it ends up really boiling down to what information is being requested, whether or not we're able to pull it, or we need to, request a report be made to pull the data.
Okay, but other than that second Q that you identified, this is accurate. This is accurate. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is accurate.
If we move on to number 10, neither here, the board has requested a change. Could it just be the board has requested a change request if we're going to use those two words back to back?
Denise, what line or what sentence?
Under issue number 10, in the paragraph, due to access limitations, if you go down, you'll see, I think it's the second sentence, the board has requested a change.
Yes,
Oh, I see.
correct. We will update that.
Thank you.
In the first paragraph of that issue, license should be licensee, I believe. Third line of the first paragraph. Due to the board has requested
Right.
right after what Denise is talking about in the same sentence, a licensee, I think.
Thank you. We'll do that.
Thanks.
Those look like non-substantive that they could do for 10. Any other discussion on 10 or any of the other items? I think there's only two more, 11 and 12.
Well, there's 15.
Ha!
I have 15 too.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not looking at the, I'm scrolling on the CBOT site and it stops at 12, but my PDF is up here and it does have 15. My apologies.
Okay. I like what you guys did with 12 and those are good answers to those questions. 13, 14. Of course. Should we continue the license? Of course we should.
Sorry, Richard. That was funny.
I'm ready to move that the committee recommend to the board the acceptance of section 11 with the changes identified during and give the staff non-substantive change authority.
There's a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second by, I think Denise edged out Beata, so there's a second by Denise. Beata, can we take the roll?
Sure. Richard Bookwalter,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Karen Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Morcos, aye.
Okay. Are we doing okay? Did anybody need a break? Are we on?
I would prefer to just go along with it because I think Mila is really fighting Sharif up there. So
Okay, here we go. Heather, can you remind us again for section 11, particularly what what was the ask of us?
Well, I
For
think,
section 12.
I think the last, I think the last vote took care of section 11. I think you might be talking about section 12.
Yes, I am. Section 12, sorry.
Yeah, so, let me just find the right one here, share. One of the things, am I sharing section 12 now?
You are.
Okay, I think.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things that, what we board staff need the committee to do is identify, and I put it here in like priorities, or in this case, prioritize, since I'm saying it aloud, but what of those issues in section 11 do you want to highlight in the report in this section 12 as things needing addressing? So for example, maybe it's the courses, I can't say post-professional, so hold on. So it's the courses, the course providers who submit an application that cost the board money for review, or licensees to submit with an advanced practice application. You know, what are the issues that you want the committee to be aware of? Because oftentimes they ask, what are the issues that can be, you know, what can we do to help board operations? So that's what this section 12 is about, because board staff need a suggestion from the committee or recommendation.
Well, if I go back, I mean, I'm looking back at section 11 because that's where those things were identified. And the fee structure, issue 1, is continues to be an issue. The approval of post-professional education courses could be another, or not. I'm not super, you know, engaged on that one. Maybe we don't want to highlight that. I don't know, but it's if we're gonna. But I think it is a quality issue. A webcasting maybe having to do with, you know, bandwidth and in-person versus participation in meetings is greater with the webcasting. Do those make sense, or are those just not what we're looking for this section?
Richard, this is Heather, and that's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about, requesting from.
It have to do with money and all that.
Heather, I have a question about an item as well, and I'm wondering if specifically, is there a way that makes sense to identify our cost related to enforcement that
Good point.
that are not either in the budget, I hope I'm using the right words, that are beyond our control or that are specifically affecting our budget so much so that we have to look at a fee increase, or is there a way to include that here that makes sense?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, you know, obviously identifying expenditure reductions are always, you know, the first look, you know, before you're looking at fee increase. And I don't know if maybe, can you give me a second? I want to go back to section 5, because I was wondering here originally about the program expenditures, except that this is not really the where I'm talking about, but perhaps, you know, for example, moving to a direction to staff to not settle cases for, you know, less than the full cost recovery, for example, right? I mean, I do want to just caution that that's a fine line, because especially given like a DUI case, if somebody has a DUI and all the associated increase in cost to them personally for, you know, their insurance, their criminal, you know, case, et cetera, their attorney, and then they come to the board and there's costs associated with the case imposing discipline and the costs associated with them to drug test, for example. You know, if you have 100% case reimbursement in the cost recovery, that person's going to probably tap out and not be a licensee. The board would recoup not a portion of the cost, the board would recoup zero as they went to another state, right? So that's, I do caution that. But to the extent that, maybe it's a staff direction to look at the settlement is always a very cost-effective, judicious way to address an issue. However, sometimes to settle the case, we do recommend accepting a lower amount than the enforcement of the case cost. So perhaps that's something, I think you're describing that, and that's something you could ask staff to report back on.
Well, specifically, I'll be more, I would not, as a board member, want to direct staff who sees all the issues around our licensees and consumer safety. I would not be comfortable as a board member specifically telling you, do not settle or do not do this. I don't think we're there yet, and we haven't seen the data, and that's not where I was going. Where I'm going with enforcement data is we have costs. I don't even know if this is possible, but I did get to speak with my assembly member about it last week. So that's why I'm raising it here. And that is, we have costs specific to the AG. I thought there are certain costs that are not, that we can't recoup. Is that correct? And my discussion with the assembly members, is there a general fund or something specific for these boards that is very specifically related to issues with the legal department, with the.
Yeah. I understand the concept, but the wording general fund doesn't really apply because we're a special fund agency, and general fund applies to some of the agencies that don't actually generate revenue, and that's where the
Got it. Thanks for the clarification.
Except that we have each year an AG line item budget, and sometimes we spend less and sometimes we spend more. And the expenditure is related to the progress of the cases and where they lie, not so much in AG expenditures. I mean, to be very candid, if I was going to recommend that somebody reach out to the legislature about a mind-blowing expense, that would be the court reporters and the amazingly fraudulent, not fraudulent, I'm sorry, pardon me. I'm sorry, hold on. The amazingly ripe for abuse is the court reporters and their new contracts where they contract only for a half day and a full day. And it wasn't until we were doing a BCP to increase our budget line items for the OAH court reporters and experts did we even identify why we went up from 4,000 to 8,000 the following year. And it was not related specifically to cases. It had to do with the fact that OAH contracts with the court reporters, and the costs are passed on to us, and they had skyrocketed. Okay, so personally, if that's an issue, that is one that somebody should really take a very, very hard look at. Separately, we are funded each year for the AG, and sometimes we underspend and sometimes we overspend. So that's not really an issue, only because insofar as if we spent all of the other monies we're authorized to spend and our AG budget or our AG expenditure exceeded our budget, there's always each year in the budget trailer bill language authority for the Department of Finance to approve a spring finance letter. So for example, the budget's 150, we project we're going to spend 190. We have a process, and that's augmented. So the internal approval process is there. I'm not so sure that the AG line item is really one that I think is an expenditure concern, or really something that needs to be addressed by the legislature. Not only that.
Okay, thank you so much. That is very valuable information. But you did, going back to your previous statements, you did identify that there are costs and again, you live this every day, so I don't know exactly what those costs are, but I knew that we were on to something where these costs were going up. Is that something that can be addressed in this report, or at least identified? I don't mean in depth, but just because the legislator I spoke with was very interested in some of the it was all around raising the fees and some of the costs and things like that. So I'm just curious if there's a way. If there's something, it doesn't have to be about the AG, but is there a way for us to address enforcement costs as it relates to court reporter or whatever else you identified, or not?
Yes, there is a way to identify the increase in expenditures in the court reporter line item, for example. The overall dollars relative to the board's budget is not significant, but by percentage, that is a higher percentage increase. And I'm not, to your point, I'm not really sure the legislature is aware of what OAH has done regarding
They
that
aren't.
change, right? So that is one issue, and we have data on that from the BCP. We submitted to get an increase for that. The other thing
I find value in that. I don't know what other board members think, and thank you for explaining the details around that, Heather. I find value in bringing that up as an issue before to make them aware.
I think it's a good issue to bring up. It's a little bit delicate politically, of course, because there are other costs that have increased and reporting requirements at the state level, some of which are from the legislature, some of which are from the administration and the DCA and other things that have added costs. So it's hard to know exactly how to bring it up in a way that is constructive and instructive at the same time. Without, it could be a delicate matter.
I agree, what I was really wondering is if this is an issue, since it's been raised, that we could suggest that board staff bring back, since they understand this, bring back the wording around this for our discussion.
That would be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Heather, would that be something that you would be, is that okay in terms of a direction from us? Would that be something that you would be comfortable doing and coming back?
Yes. And actually, because the next opportunity for this to be reviewed is by the full board. And so what we could do is we could bring back additional information. We could highlight it, for example, in the information, so it's easy to see what information is new. And then as a whole, because by then it'll be out of the committee's hands, and then the board could discuss not only the value, and if they agree, then they could also discuss the wording in case board staff has provided information that's not worded quite right to address some of these delicate issues that are I hate to say finger pointing, but insofar as it is a little bit to highlight, perhaps is a good phrase, then that would be the next opportunity to wordsmith those issues. Is that responsive?
That sounds like a great way to approach it, Heather. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I agree. And so, in looking at section 12, where they were supposed to identify the issues basically the issues in section 11 that are still relevant, it sounds like. I'm looking at, so that the budget issue is issue number 1, because that's the proposed fee structure to support the health of our long-term fund condition, right? So that's issue 3. I don't know if we want to do anything related to continuing competency assessment certifications. that is a little bit related. And can we go back to issue 3? Whoever's showing the screen.
Richard, you're asking for a scroll to issue 3 from section 11, correct?
That is what I'm asking for, yeah.
Okay, just want to verify.
One moment, please.
So one is good. We're going to bring that back. 3, I'm just wondering if people think we could bring that back. That relates to our ethics requirement that we're talking about from last time, I think.
That was a discussion for ethics, Richard, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so that would be a recurrent issue for this sunset report. Then I'm thinking of 5, issue 5. Which is the post-professional education course approval and the fees and all that. And then I'm also thinking of 12 and 14. I'm not sure about 7 and 9, issues 7 and 9, if we should bring those up or not. They seem like maybe a little bit less. Scroll to 7 and 9. 7 has to do with the workforce trends and the workforce survey, and 9 is about disaggregating enforcement data to make it more useful, which is a little bit related to what Denise is talking about, but I think Denise here primarily talking about enforcement costs. So I'm not sure if we really want to bring up 7 and 9.
This is Heather. If wanting staff input on the issues, I would say number 9 is probably not one you should highlight, because insofar as how complete or incomplete that tool is, it's probably not as high of a priority as some of the other issues, especially given, the budget and that post-professional issue. I only worry that, it seemed to do 2 things: 1, accountability to the providers, and 2, a revenue stream. And insofar as they stop doing that, the providers stop submitting the courses to the board for approval, the board will still incur the expense for individual licensees when they submit the certificates. So that might be a bigger issue than you want to address.
Okay,
terms of
so
priorities.
no to 5 and no to 9. How about 7? Staff fees
Unfortunately,
is-
that's a breeze limitation. And despite the fact that the workforce and demographic questions are built into both the renewal application and the initial license application, any attempts at making that more retrievable is going to increase our breeze costs, because it was not initially developed in a way that would properly extract reports. So that's my feedback. And certainly if you want to highlight it, then, please, that's your.
No, I mean, I'm not, I was not realizing it was so breeze oriented, because breeze isn't mentioned in the answer. But now that you mentioned that it's, that it's a breeze thing, I was more focused on the workforce trends thing because we did the workforce study.
Oh,
It's-
okay. Well, I'm sorry. So going back, because originally they were talking about demographic information, and there are several healthcare boards that are required by statute to provide certain demographic information each year. And we built our questions in the renewal and initial license applications to collect that, except that the design folks didn't do set back when there was vendors, not board, not DCA staff that made the changes. They did not do such a good in developing that in terms of making it data that could be extracted. So that's just only one of the reasons I would
Stay away
maybe-
from issue 7 and how about issue 12?
Could I just ask something about 7 before we move on?
Of course.
Heather, is it too far of a stretch for us as a board, just because it really highlights something that we've done that's great, and that is the survey that's been done by the Fieldwork Committee, so that this could say that, although they've been unable to retrieve demographic data on those, we have been able to survey incoming professional. Does it highlight here, or will it take the?
So my only concern is that you could present it that way and it sounds positive, but when we're asked to report back on it, we're not able to do so.
Okay, then forget it.
My own
Thank you.
question on
We
that.
can move on. Thanks.
If nobody has an objection, can we look at issue 12? Do we have any staff recommendations regarding adding that to section 12 as one of the leftovers?
No, absolutely, we could add that.
And then how about 14? Well, 14 is already there in the new issues. 14 is already there in the second section of section 12. Because you're talking about the supervision. So that is a new issue, I guess. So I would move that we recommend issues 1, 3, and 12 over to refer to those in section 12, where we're asked to carry over anything that unfinished business from the last sunset report.
There's a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Beata as a second. I'm checking the chat. I don't see anything for public comment, but it's always welcome and open. Beata, will you take the roll, please?
Richard Bookwalter,
Yes.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes. Motion carries for section 12. Heather, just a point of clarification. I just see adjunctive items, that are just supplemental materials. Is that the end of the sunset report, or do we have to talk about section 13?
Yeah, section 13 are all, section 13 is all the required attachments.
Mm-hmm.
So you certainly can discuss them, but unless somebody wants to point to an error, one of those 93 pages, we pulled that from the D drive for information.
Okay, I'll just ask.
I don't think we're finished with 12 yet, though. There's 3 sections in 12, and we only addressed the 1 and the 2.
That's what I thought.
Sorry.
Can
You
we-
mean for 14 and 15?
No,
Excuse me?
Section 12, items 2 and 3 is what I believe he's referring to, and I agree with that statement. His motion was for item number 1.
Here, am I showing my screen?
You are.
That's
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry.
That's right. So
The little bar rolls up, so I wasn't sure. So there is section 1, which Richard just moved, and then there is section 3 to identify new issues that the committee believes the board should include in this report as new issues wanting to be addressed. Thank you.
is that a place where, is that also a place to talk about costs, or can we just address that under the fee increase? The issues that Denise was bringing up about the court reporter, about various costs.
Yeah, I think that would be a good spot as well.
So maybe enforcement or the costs of processing enforcement.
Are there any other areas the committee would like to recommend the board that be raised for the legislative concern?
We want to talk about the apprenticeship or the fieldwork issue. Is that it's kind of a muddy issue for the legislature.
Yeah, I don't know, geez. Because we started that for a fieldwork, it's kind of alternative. And oh boy.
Would it make, for issue number 10, the other technologies, does that aid in, with staff? Is that something important to staff that we address, that it's an issue that we've not been able to move forward with cloud-based access?
I'm sorry, Denise. Could you
For issue number 10,
section?
for issue number 10 in section 11, is that something that you want us to move it forward as a priority? What I'm really getting at is, are there other technologies that we might recommend that would help to offset, some of that would help and aid with staff time, because not all our positions are filled and.
I don't have an opinion on that. I don't. Am I showing issue number 10 you're talking about primary
No.
source documentation?
No, but I have it right in front of me.
Well, I know, but I would like to get there. I'm not, perhaps I'm reading the wrong one. I thought you said section 11, issue number 10.
Yes.
Okay, am I,
No, it's not moving.
well, what am I sharing?
Section 11, issue number 10, should the CBOT use other technologies that DCA might have to improve submission compliance and processing times for primary source documentation?
Heather, to answer your question, you are sharing agenda item number 12.
I'm sorry, it says section number 11 up here at the top. So,
You might sometimes that happens if you have a lot of windows open, you just might need to toggle.
oh, no, I haven't. Hang on just a second.
Okay,
Section 11.
there it is.
So the other technologies, issue number 10. This is the one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What would that recommendation be, or what would it look like?
My question, I don't know the answer to that. My question is, because we're bringing up new issues, should we be bringing up something related to a technology request that might improve any sort of compliance or processing time for board staff? Like, do you want to use this cloud-based access?
Well, we can't use the cloud-based access. That's why we talked about like modifying Breeze to allow people to add things to it. When it talks about the limitations on the cloud-based access,
It's okay if it's not straightforward. I don't have to.
So when we looked into using the cloud-based access, one of the problems, for example, when auditing licensees, is that when you want to send something to a licensee and give them access to DCA's cloud, each individual has to have their own unique user ID and access code. So whether we audit 80 people a month or 100 people a month, to generate that many unique ID access codes and passwords is resource prohibitive, which is one of the reasons that it was suggested that instead that Breeze be modified to allow licensees to either add their upload their certificates at the time of renewal, or if they're audited after the fact and they did not do so, then give them opportunity to add it at the time. I would just suggest that DCA's cloud, like this question is not worded very well, and that the DCA's cloud is not an ideal solution for what they're suggesting. And in terms of other technology tools, unfortunately, all of that comes with a price, and we're already looking like 80,000+ a year just to maintain Breeze, without even looking at augmentation to functionality. And so,
Okay,
any
so
other
let
technology would be more expansive and more expensive.
so let me just ask you this last question. This is what I'm really trying to get at. When Breeze was created, there was a lot of time, board staff time taken away from the office. And that's not a judgment or a complaint. That's something that I know you experienced more than us. Because that happened, it happened like for a year, and then it seemed like 9 months and what have you. Now we're in a situation where we're not using that. Is this is this sunset report the place to request or identify a new issue around Breeze? I don't know what that issue would be, but is it a timing thing? How fast these changes happen? Is there anything we can put in our request as a new issue that will make this process easier for all concerned, specifically board staff and our consumer? Or our licensee, excuse me.
I do not believe so.
Okay. Thanks.
If I can just ask a clarifying question, Heather, in case one of our members needs to leave, do we still have a quorum with 3?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a suggestion about item 12, the bullet 3, where we're talking about new issues? I'm wondering if this is a good time to bring up the idea of aligning the advanced practice laws, advanced practice statute with current with more recent developments in education, not having folded that into entry-level education. It's something on our practice committee agenda that would require legislation to change, or could potentially.
I'm sorry, Richard, to clarify, I wasn't sure if you were asking that of your committee members or if you were asking that of staff.
Both, actually. I mean, I would value input from both on that.
Richard, could you please reiterate your question?
Well, I mean, the idea of the advanced practices being a construct, an artifact of 2000, of the year 2000, and whether, you know, because the educational requirements have moved on, could we, you know, eliminate the advanced practices or revise the advanced practice legislation to remove one of them? Or
My comment, I think when we had discussed this earlier, and maybe we could bring it back for our discussion, but we still didn't get, other than Pam's, we didn't get, and I think that's maybe the one that you're referencing. We were trying to take a survey of all the schools in California to see what kind of curriculum they were offering to make sure that it was standardized for everyone to eliminate that. And that was the push by OTAC for sure, to say, yes, that's in a curriculum now for most part, at least Pam's definitely not swallowing or hands. I just know that we were trying to get some kind of communication from people to be able to make sure that it wasn't a consumer protection issue, that everyone was doing like a, you know, a quarter, or it's kind of the same information for Pam's. You know, I think that was the one that's probably the biggest on the table, to remove that as advanced practice. But I don't necessarily know that we got that information to meet, to be able to just say, yeah, we're gonna remove it, because I think we still need to find out from the schools, or maybe we did discuss that and I don't recall, but I don't remember any kind of standardization of like, yes, this is what people are doing. And we feel very confident that all the schools are supplying the information needed for PAMS, and we can remove that from advanced practices. So,
okay, so we're not going to ask them to remove it, but we're going to tell maybe we could tell the legislature that we're looking at it.
okay, yeah,
I mean,
I think that's important for sure.
Because to let them know, because they're not aware
Right.
that OT is going to a doctorate program. You know, OT, you know, there's this push to make everybody a doctor, or everybody a bachelor if they're an OTA. So,
You know, Richard, the direction you're going, originally when you first started talking, I was actually uncomfortable talking about something that the practice committee hasn't examined, but now the direction you've taken it, it's almost like it makes sense to even identify some of the issues the practice committee is looking at. And to give, if it's really from an informing standpoint, I could totally get behind that. And lastly, I wonder if the real issue before the legislation is to ask them to remove the 16 steps to getting a practice committee form. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding on that part. But you see, so if you're really going about
the same thing, but we can't figure out how to put that in there.
But if you're really going at it from the direction of informing them, I do support that.
Now's the time to ask for staff input.
Heather, how do you feel from a staff perspective?
That's a whole lot of information. And I think if I could just backpedal a little bit to support what Richard is talking about, is the advanced practice requirements were pushed by another healthcare profession, except that it was supported by the legislature because at the time there was no, quote, national minimum education standard, close quote. And so the fact that, for example, one university had hand therapy as a requirement and another one had it as an elective, it supported the fact that there was no national minimum education standard in these practice areas. And I almost think if you take a step back and possibly not even look at it from the fact that it's moving towards a doctoral and bachelor degrees, and look at it from this requirement was imposed due to no minimum national education standard. And despite the fact that the ACO guidelines have changed and don't match California's requirements, what the ACO guidelines do is present a national minimum education standard. So for those reasons, I support what, Richard's saying, minus the emphasis on the degree, because that they're going to go back and they're going to look at that Senate B&P analysis about the no minimum national education standard. And so my only suggestion is I agree with what he's saying. I think you could actually step back a bit and justify the removal of it from that. My only caution is, the educators in the state of California are saying students are not prepared. So those are my comments. And I personally don't have enough information to strongly suggest one way or another. I do think, though, that both of those arguments are compelling should the committee recommend to the board to go a particular direction. I'm sorry for a lot of words and not much resolution.
So Heather, I think what you just said was beautiful about how the absence and the presence of a national standard and having the board look at that as a potential future course of action without perhaps using the word removal of advanced practice, maybe using revision or revisiting, but that would be a good thing to add to section 3 of item 12 to me, or section 12, third bullet to me, as something that we're looking at.
Okay, well, then we can put that together. I just want to strongly encourage you all to find people who can be a part of the practice committee who can vet this issue. People, whether it's from the educator standpoint or from the licensee with approval to practice in those areas, who can discern the differences and then help staff, articulate it. I mean, that's just going to be a big lift for staff who doesn't quite have that nuanced information that only licensees could have.
Heather, the new requirements are passed at our last meeting, right? Where it doesn't have to be 5 years, but it's 3 years, right? To be on the committee and.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But also one of the things that happened with the appointments to the practice committee earlier in the year was that we had only one, I believe, out of 4, possibly 5, and I'm sorry, I just don't remember, that actually had advanced practice approval. And so if I recall, the minutes talked about the fact that the committee membership was a little bit light in those areas. So that's, again, I'm sorry, it's kind of late. I'm just going based on my recollection. Thank you. Does that answer that? Thank you.
I think it does, Heather. Thank you.
I agree. We could get moving on it, but in terms of this report, I just think it might be nice to bring it up as a future direction for the next 4 years on this board. So,
I agree with that, Richard. It's also 2 or 3 of the items on the list for the practice committee. So it's really just the topic alone of looking at these advanced practice, just using that word alone is going to address 3 of the things that the committee has to look at anyhow. So it'll work.
can I make a motion that we include something about advanced practice as taking a look at advanced practice in light of the national standards as for bullet 3 in section 12.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, I'm going to just check and see if Beata is here. Beata, yeah, okay. Beata, do you mind taking a vote for a roll call? Vote for the motion.
Yes, of course. Richard Bookwater,
Aye.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Sharon Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Marcos, yes.
Okay, where are we
Just as
at?
a side note to that motion, not as but they'll also include a statement related to the ACO guidelines, right? So people understand, the legislators will understand we have a national direction on some of this, or? And again, I can wait till the next iteration. They don't have to answer at this point.
I-
Just,
This is Heather. So, yes, so actually, part of it, I, in my notes was in light of national standards. So, we
Perfect.
will incorporate that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at with section 12?
If there's, it's just, is there any other new issue in part 3 of section 12 besides that one?
Yeah, anything else to discuss?
just a point of order in understanding, how many more times does this committee and or board get to, as it relates to number 3, how many more times do we get to see this report if we wanted to add anything? If not, if it
Heather?
wasn't.
Yeah, you have one more time at the December 1st board meeting and no other opportunities after that.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, how are we doing? Are any new issues, you guys, for section 12? Any other ones?
Chair Pavlovich, this is Jody. I don't know if I missed something about number 2. I know we talked about 1. I have a motion. I have a motion about 3. Did I miss a finality on number 2 or what we're adding or not talking about?
Oh, the one that we just talked about, Jody?
Well, 3 I thought was what we were just finished, the new issues, but
Can we see
2.
section 12? Can we see section 12 on the screen?
Oh, so for section 12, Jody's talking about item number 2, new issues that are identified by the board in this report.
Okay.
There was quite a lot of information in that one. Heather, do you have that? That was where Richard kind of itemized some some
Did
sections.
I think then I feel like we switched and went to something else.
I
That
might
believe
have
he's talking about the fact that number 2 is listed here, but it seemed like people talked about number 1 and then number 3. Jody, is that correct?
That is correct. Was there anything else in number 2 besides what's printed on the page that I need to have that we should be adding?
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Jody.
Yeah, we're just double checking, and if this one right here under number 2 is fine, then we'll include that, and then of course add in the items addressed under questions 1 and 2 in section 12.
I'm okay with 2. Does anybody else have any for section number 12? Number 2, I'm okay with, and 3, where are my colleagues at?
I'm okay too. It was similar to. It was mentioned in section 11 under another issue, one of the items, but it's good to put it in this section of section 12. I thought so.
Okay, so Richard's good. Denise and Beata?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay,
you.
good. So Jody, is that helpful? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, any other items for number 3? If not, are we done with section 12? And does any, Heather, if we are done, do you want a global motion to say, or just because we did each one, we're okay?
I think since we did each one, we're going to be okay.
Okay, all right. So if there's no other discussion in section number 12, I think I got that all right. Okay, we did 1, 2, and 3. Section 13 is just adjunctive material that was supportive, and as we heard Heather say earlier, unless there's something that needs to be amended, we don't really need to talk about it unless you guys want to. And I'm okay with 13. I've heard Beata, I think, said she was okay, or
Yes,
Beata.
I can make a motion if everybody else is okay. What do you guys think? Anybody? Sorry. Would you like me to make a motion?
Sure, Beata. Let's see if someone seconds it.
All right. I would like to make a motion to accept section 13, all the attachments.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a second by Denise. Beata, is there a roll, a vote?
Of course, Richard Bookwater,
Yes.
Denise Miller,
Yes.
Karen Pavlovich,
Yes.
and Beata Morcos, yes.
Yes. Okay, and Heather, did I hit it all on the discussion or did I miss agenda item number 6? We included that, right?
Yes, we got them all.
Okay. Okay, everybody, it's 7:15. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the hard work between our colleagues here and the staff board. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you
Thank you very
soon
much.
at
Thank
the
you,
December
everyone.
meeting, everyone.
Have a
Bye.
happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And have a great
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.